we need to start with the one and only Joker.
The best of them all.
You and I are not
Folie,
French
Deux.
here,
I don't know. I saw somebody saying that everybody is mispronouncing it, but everybody I've heard pronounce it as like Folie, Deux. Maybe it's just a little bit like it's not do like doo doo. It's like de.
The
I don't know.
I saw a compilation of a bunch of news anchors.
Yes, I'm speaking as somebody whose like knowledge of the French language is watching Portrait of a Lady on Fire a few times. Like I'm not an expert by any means.
So we'll call it Joker 2. And as a Joker 2 film, it's the whole gang getting back together, but this time as a musical, as a lot of people had heard coming into it. And then it turns out a lot of people were still surprised that it was a musical, as it covers what is supposed to be the aftermath of the first Joker film, which came out in 2019. Feels like an era ago, to be honest with you.
Everything pre-COVID feels like a different lifetime.
Right? But it's kind of crazy because we also have another movie with the platform that also came out in 2019 and now is getting a sequel. Technically for TIFF is when it came out. So it's like everything from that bygone era is now getting a follow-up. Zach, I ask you, Joker, Folie, however you want to pronounce it, 2. What are your thoughts?
I thought this one was exhausting. I had absolutely no patience for it, and at plus 2 hours, that was a really tall task. I thought this was a courtroom drama that lacked any bit of suspense. I thought it was a musical that was kind of too afraid to commit to the idea of being a musical, and I just think this thing got worse the further it went along. To me, this might even be the worst blockbuster release of the year. I might rather sit through Borderlands again than watch Joker Folie at Deux. I'm serious, man. I'm serious. I thought this one was a disaster, a boring disaster, the worst kind of disaster.
You would not sit through Borderlands.
I mean, at least that movie's got Cate Blanchett in a silly wig. I don't know, man.
Name a character from Borderlands, bro.
Who cares? I don't care. I know who some of the names are in this, and they're not surprising me. This movie like starts sort of like, hey, remember what happened in the first Joker movie, and it stays there for over 2 hours. Nothing happens. What happens in this movie?
How does this stuff not happen in this movie? The ending is controversial because of what happens in the movie.
The last 20 minutes, some stuff happens, but by then, like, who cares anymore?
Look, I'm at it from the perspective that Todd Phillips set himself up. You weren't the biggest fan of the first Joker either, I don't think.
No, but I saw some merits in it. Like, there's some scenes that are pretty good, some interesting ideas, although most of them are borrowed from Scorsese movies.
Stolen. I'm with you on that. That man, that is full theft right there. Going back to the first one, you hear him always get that critique in interviews, and he goes, no, we weren't just stealing from one, we were stealing from several. I was stealing from the 70s. I was stealing from the 70s, not just one. Then they sit him in front of Martin Scorsese, and what does the man say? Oh, yes, no, I loved your movie. It was definitely an inspiration. He stole from that stuff easily, through and through. I thought it was a good remix, a good cover, a good greatest hits, if you will. In terms of what he was trying to do with that first one. I know that a big controversy from it was the fact that he puts you in the place of the Joker wanting to commit the acts that he commits in the movie, especially that Murray scene, because that's one of the main reasons he's on trial in this movie is because of the, 5, 6
murder
bodies
of Robert De Niro's talk show host character in the last movie.
And I feel this is him apologizing or trying to set the record straight, something that we're going to see with a lot of sequels. Platform 2 is also a movie where he's talking about one of the characters in there had an art piece that killed a kid, and they feel really bad about it. Dude Messiah that we're getting is going to remind people, hey, that Paul guy, he ain't really that good. This almost feels like a disclaimer for the amount of money that man made in the first one. That first movie made $1 billion, and they said Todd Phillips took home 100 whopping mil. So I don't even see this one as a cash grab because the man already grabbed the cash, and 2, it also ends in a way where it's like he's not looking to continue on. So like,
definitely he sees himself as Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight setting fire to that pile of money. Like he is
Fair.
Definitely kind of like flipping off the studio and the audience and pretty much anybody who has any interest in this sequel in the first place. And like, I can say that that's daring, and it's certainly like a big choice to make with your hotly anticipated sequel, but it doesn't mean I have to find it particularly interesting or fun to watch.
What would you have done differently? Because you were saying that the musical element was pretty underwhelming. I like the aspect of the first movie kind of having him sing, always being on that staircase when he has his big transformation, which they even bring it back in this movie. They cut to like some shots from the first movie and you're like, you guys just really liked how you shot that one in the first one. That transformation in the bathroom scene, you see that he's always had this like musical side to him, and all the musical numbers that are in here, they're technically, if I'm not mistaken, all established music. Like it's a what do you call those musicals?
Yeah, it's a jukebox musical, which is the term for musicals that use previously written music. And this one is particularly pulling from a lot of like pop standards, jazz pop standards from like the 50s and 60s. You know, there's Frank Sinatra in there. There's Stevie Wonder in there, although that's later than the 60s. Just speaking to the song selection, I found that particularly to be very boring and very uninspired. Like there's not going to be a lot of songs in here that you've never heard before, and not a lot of songs in here that I think speak like nuances to the experience of Arthur Fleck, the Joker character. You know, 3 out of the first 4 songs are basically I feel different because now I'm in love, and it just sort of doesn't do much to really progress the story. It you know, it feels there's not a lot happening, but there's even less going on during the musical numbers. It really grinds the whole thing to a halt. And I also felt like the performances themselves were really grating. Like Todd Phillips directs Lady Gaga and Joaquin Phoenix to do this kind of like talk singing weak voiced thing that I do think kind of fits the characters, but it makes the songs really like annoying to listen to. These are both people who have performed songs beautifully in movies before, whether it's Walk the Line or A Star Is Born, but I just think they're intentionally handicapping themselves in the performances here. I found them to be increasingly less creative as the film went along. So many of them are just explained away as dream sequences, which is like, to me, the coward's way to do a musical. Like, if you're going to do a musical, do a musical. This guy is already supposed to be teetering between, you know, reality and his own fantasies anyway. Like, just fully indulge in them. I don't know,
Isn't
man.
That in like La La Land also kind of like, not like the opening thing for La La Land is they're in the highway and then all of a sudden it just goes back to being in the highway?
No, but that's not a dream sequence. That's sort of like it's interrupting the flow of their life, but it's not like none of the characters all exist in a world where they're prone to spontaneously break out into song, whereas this is a world where it's just all happening in Arthur's head, which is to me less interesting form of doing that kind of musical.
I think that a lot of the lyrics do kind of go with what he's going through, especially towards the end.
Sure,
he's got one of the songs.
He's got lyrics that say clown and Joker in them.
Well, no, it's about I have to play a specific role, and I am chosen to be the Joker. I'm supposed to be the clown. We all have to play whatever the role is supposed to be, which ends up kind of being the through line in the movie, where no matter the people who are still trying to help him in the prison that he's in, you have Catherine Keener who comes in trying to like pretend to be his lawyer, but in reality, like when you pay attention to what's happening with her, all she wants to do is get back at the prison. So she's willing to put someone who she knows shouldn't even be out there, just so that she can have something against the guards and who she's actually building a case against. There's the interview bit, which I thought that part was pretty funny when he breaks out into dance. Or what's his name? Who's interviewing
with
him?
Steve Coogan?
Part? Yeah, Steve Coogan comes in. They're having this like back and forth, and he's like mimicking him in the way he talks. Then he breaks like into a song, which I believe is supposed to be broadcast. And Steve Coogan's just looking at him like, "Bro, what is up with this guy?" I thought there were several elements where the music, if you're not a musical fan, I don't think this is going to be up your alley. It is. You're not wrong at all. Them doing the worst possible singing, because I think that's what they wanted the characters to be. It's these two psychos who are madly in love together. It's what the title's supposed to be about, how they share this madness. But I also think it's more so his madness with himself. I heard Joaquin talking about that it's really him coming to terms with himself, which I think is a big part of the movie, especially towards the end. Again, I don't think it's a good Joker movie. I think Todd Phillips wanted to play with IP and cash in. We all know that. And now he's paying that price. Like, bro, you cannot piss off comic book fans and not give them the Joker they want.
Yeah, and in many ways, this is, as you mentioned, almost like an apology film of sorts, or a fuck you film of sorts from Todd Phillips, kind of being like, no, if you are admiring the Joker, you're wrong. Yeah. This is not a character that I think you guys should admire. I just think that which is, kind of crazy when, as you mentioned, the film still made $1 billion and got nominated for, what was it, like 11 Oscars?
Ridiculous amount, actually. Yeah.
By pretty much any metric, a gigantic success, unless you are like taking seriously the opinions of critics and incels.
Yeah. But I think it was more so, like I'm saying, with a couple of the other movies that we have coming up, Dune Messiah being a really big one. I know Jason brought that up in his video as well. Like, he has this thing of like, he's trolling in reverse because he knows that some people didn't get the message. The idea that you shouldn't want this person to become the clown prince of crime. But at the same time, you're going to shoot yourself in the foot because people want to see the Joker go crazy to fight a Batman, right? So it's like, I do think it's an interesting character study. A bad Joker movie, I did think it was a decent enough movie for the psyche of a guy who's realizing like, yo, if I'm not this persona that people want me to be, even when I fall in love and think I can come out of it, even when I see that the one person, I really like the best scene's got to be with Puddles. You like that scene at least?
To be honest, not really, but it wasn't like the worst.
Damn, bro, that's like the one scene I've seen people only care for. I've seen people complain about this movie, ask for refunds of the movie. No one likes the music in this, but I do think there's a decent enough storyline for what they thought they were going for. You're just setting yourself up for failure when you're not giving people this rampage of Gotham City that they thought they were going to see. You're not going to get Batman. The ending, I think, is definitely a flip on the fans that I thought was intriguing. I kind of spoiled it for you too because I got spoiled from what it was going to be. So I was already assessing the movie from that perspective of seeing certain characters in the background. But I like how in the music, with you mentioning how bad they sounded, that Lady Gaga made what she calls a companion album. The companion album is her just reminding you, yeah, she can sing, bro. She's not that bad at singing.
She's not quite that pitchy in real life.
Yeah, she's like, don't get it twisted, bro. I am still pretty good. I thought her performance in the movie is definitely underwritten in a way where it almost feels like an intro to her character for like a spin-off that they want. You know?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like she doesn't really have a lot to do. And at a certain point, she kind of just disappears from the movie right before the climax. I don't know. Like,
a little bit.
I don't think she's fine in the film,
I heard some
but
people say she wasn't like there at all. I think she's enough in the movie.
I think that reaction that you're talking about is that there's a lot of people who thought this was going to be a like best lead actress Oscar campaign for her, and she's like definitely not the lead of this movie. She's not. She's definitely like the second biggest part of it, but it's really still Joaquin and Arthur Fleck's story.
What did they do with Killers of the Flower Moon?
A bunch of category fraud, but
right.
Yeah. I don't think this movie is getting the kind of reception where they can even really consider that.
No. Yeah. This is definitely dead on arrival. Although I will say, with a lot of the talk of box office and the such, again, they made all their money in the past one. He really don't care. To me, this is like him doing another lap around to just make sure, yo, I got a lot weighing on my head for those of you who took it wrong. I want to let y'all know, no, you shouldn't be like Lady Gaga in the movie wanting this man to be that. I think that's the very obvious message in the film. But it's more so just like, it's him wanting to just end it so he doesn't have to deal with it again. But to a degree, he's almost tarnished the fan's perspective of the first movie. Because he's almost like telling you, hey, all of those scenes where I get you to want him to do something on that late night show, I'm almost now damning you in reverse. And he's already made his money, so I know he don't really care. But I've seen him go around talking about his older comedy films from old school. Obviously, everyone knows the Hangover movies that Todd Phillips did. The way you apologize for jokes, I've realized that in order to apologize for a drama, I guess it's a musical.
Right.
Yeah, look, I didn't think it was the worst just off of the fact that the cinematography it continues to be outstanding in this. The way that it's shot, especially watching them back to back, you notice it in the first movie. That whole shadow thing that they bring up for the second one, where they really like they really hone in on that. There's a lot of shots in the first one where it's always done in a perspective where you see his shadow behind. And I listened to the commentary with the cinematographer, and I was like, damn, you've kind of had that be a through line. When it comes to the second one, though, I thought the musical numbers also looked cool when they were in his state of mind. Like, he's doing his own late night show. It's the same color scheme as the Murray show, because those are the only moments where he's starting to be happy and the such. I don't think it looks bad. Like, I can't give it negative points for that.
Right. I do think that this is a film that was well shot, and cinematographer Lawrence Sher was nominated for an Oscar for the last film. I think this film, at worst it looks competent, and at best it does look beautiful. Like, there are some really stunning visuals put together there. When you're talking about some of those musical sequences, I feel like for a lot of them, I felt like the ideas were half there. Like, yeah, they're on this sort of like sunny set doing this singing and dancing show, but it's sort of just that, and I think for
but Zachary, he's half there.
Sure. To me, the best shot number was that first one that kind of is done in a one shot around the different inmates for once in my life, because it just sort of like a lot of the music moments in this film, they don't really like announce themselves. They sort of slip into the songs, and the way that sort of slipped into that moment I thought was well done. But I think for the most part it doesn't, like, it feels like Phillips doesn't have his whole heart in making the musical, and they'll do the gestures of a musical, but they won't go all out, and I bumped up against that.
Okay, I can see that, because I think the musical side of it mainly comes from Gaga, and it mainly comes from Joaquin. There's like a whole tap dance sequence that he does. I thought that was some of the better parts from comparing it to the first one, when he's doing his dance walk down the stairs. And I come to find out that he was like a tap dancer. I guess like when they were kids, he was the tap dancer in the family. He didn't have the best voice, as is obviously seen. But I thought he had like a looseness to that I was like, oh, okay, that's you being most in tune with your character, like people enjoyed from the first film. I thought some of the side performances were pretty decent. The guard, what's his name?
Brendan Gleeson, my guy.
Come on, that guy, he killed it. He was fantastic. Yeah. He's got this through line where he's almost jealous of Arthur. There's this one line where he goes, "Yeah, you still think you're famous, punk? Like you're happy that you're getting the spotlight?" And he hates it so much. And I was like, "Yo, I wanted more from them." There is a take in the movie. It's been spoiled everywhere. I didn't see it like that the first time, but I think you've heard about the certain sequence right before the final court scene. The guards take him into a bathroom. Something happens with another inmate. Do you think
there's
it plays out?
Prison shower scene?
Yeah. I did not take it as them doing a certain act to him.
Yeah. Well, I think it's the kind of thing where there is a cultural connotation, right? Where maybe you can sort of like imply it, but they're not going to do that in a DC movie. Like, I'm sorry, Todd Phillips is a pretty long leash, but that might be a bit too far.
Zack Snyder came in and stopped it. It's a deleted scene because Mr. Snyder said, no. Look, I even if he did, I think the rhetoric of that being what gets the Joker released from him is so wild. Like, I don't think you could sexually assault the Joker out of a being, when in the court they said that's what caused him to become it. Because when he was a kid, they had some elements from the first one where his mom was bad to him. But they
right.
You got a little industry reunion up there where you had
I was gonna say that was probably my favorite moment in the movie, when Ken Lung and Harry Lottie are talking to each other.
And they're having this back and forth. And I do want to get into those characters more, but they're talking about like, he was obviously thrown to the side by society, the system, no one took care of him, but that like he was assaulted sexually and physically. And he's just like ignoring it when it's happening. So I think the idea that the guards doing that to him would take it, I think it would make him a super Joker, if anything. I don't think it would strip him away. I think what strips it away is the fact that something happens to an inmate at that point. Is the fact that he realizes nobody likes him for Arthur. They like him for the persona of the Joker. And I do like that story element to it. It is a slap in the face for everything you presented to the other people. And especially with the theories of what happened with the ending, which have been interesting, because I had also told you that there's a massive theory that this connects to another Batman movie. And I don't think that's the case, right?
Yeah, I think that's maybe making too literal of a connection.
Thank you.
When it's
Okay,
more of a like a spiritual thematic connection, if that makes any sense.
That's the whole joke. Yeah, the whole Joker bit is we don't know where he comes from. There's this element to him where he performs at Pogo's. That is the serial killer John Wayne Gacy's name, Pogo the Clown. He's not John Wayne Gacy, but it's this idea of like, look at all these elements that come out of it.
Yeah.
I think it's just because people see a certain action that the character does in the background towards the end, that specific guy. So they're assuming, oh my gosh, is he going to turn? No. I think the idea of the Joker is that there's so much lore to him, you don't know where it goes. I didn't have that much of a pushback to that. I did not make the connection. But I think when you make like Easter egg videos, you kind of got to grasp at something. Did you hate the ending?
I didn't hate the ending, but like I think the movie had just lost me by that point. I didn't think it was like the most exciting bit, but you know, essentially it feels like what Todd Phillips is giving us here is with the whole film is like his version of a supervillain's like Lars von Trier story, or like Batman adjacent come and see. And ultimately, like, I just kind of don't think that's a good idea. Like, I get it if that's what your thing is, but I think that's kind of dumb. So it doesn't work for me.
I want to say come and see, but what was the first one you said?
Lars von Trier.
What was the double up? Lars von Trier DC?
Oh, supervillain Lars von Trier. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it. I can see that one. I thought that was an interesting take to it. But again, I'm of the complete belief, as most people are. This is him not cashing it in, but him trying to just like cement, yo, I don't want to be responsible for everything y'all have held over my head. I already got $100 million that I made out of this. I don't want my legacy to be known as that. And now he wants to go back into comedies. Please, maybe. Let's see what you could do back in comedies.
You find that punk rock of him? Is that a super punk rock move of Todd Phillips?
For what? To go back to comedy?
No. To like, to make this his Joker sequel. To take WB's money and make this kind of movie.
Oh, no. I don't think it's punk rock at all, because it's him almost like apologizing for the first one. To me, it's an explainer of the first. You want to know the best way I could describe this? This is the force majeure American remake. For those who did not get what he was going for in the Joker, the man overly spelled it out in this movie. That's what he did. And I think it's because he felt that he got too much pushback from the first film. So I don't think that makes it the worst, but it's definitely a part of it. That I can't say it's punk rock, because punk rock would have been doubling down on the idea of you didn't feel the need to explain the violence in the first. You just showcased it. And that's what scared people, is that you were almost making it enticing. Don't be scared and back down and have the man pull up to court to be like, I apologize for the sins of my past. That's definitely not punk rock. But I didn't find it as boring as I think most people have had with the pushback. I know that people have expectations for a Joker film, but I try not to review IP as much as I try to review what they're trying to do with the character. And maybe the musical may not have been the best part of it, very long, but I like Gaga in it. I like some of the Gaga songs. I don't know what she knows about psychology, but she was decent in the movie for me. And I like some of the side characters. I don't know if you want to, before you bring up that tweet, what you thought about your boy playing Harvey Dent, as well as Ken Long as, I forget what the doctor's name was for him, but Harry Lottie coming in as a young little Harvey Dent. I thought that would have been a really cool perspective to follow the movie.
In what sense? Like
him investigating, make it a core procedural thing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that would have been, if you talk about what I would have done differently, I think if they could have leaned more into the courtroom thriller things and had more twists and turns in terms of the case and like, oh, is the jury actually going to acquit him? That would have made it a little more exciting, and maybe even leaned into some more of those ideas about like how you know, these stories of violence can kind of be intoxicating in some ways. But as far as Harry Lottie in the role, I mean, I thought it was okay. His accent was a little bit interesting. Like, I think he was kind of going for a sort of JFK-ish affect, but not sure if it got all the way there.
the British accent in the background. Yeah,
Yeah.
good looking guy.
He's
I thought
working
it would
on
have been
it.
interesting. Yeah, it would have been interesting to follow him along. But I also, with you, agree that one scene when Ken Lung comes in as I think he's a psychiatrist, because the whole
Yeah.
idea is that he was there 89 minutes interviewing the Joker. That was a good back and forth, because again, those are elements where we're now just seeing Arthur in the background and there's other people discussing Arthur as opposed to Arthur's perspective of what's going on around him.
Did you like in the subsequent court scene Arthur Fleck's Foghorn Leghorn voice, or
Yeah,
your favorite?
I thought it was hilarious. It was so stupid, bro.
It's so stupid.
Because it's like a bit that doesn't stop, right? It's like when someone. So I have a recommendation later on when Trey Parker in his documentary goes Tarnation, and he keeps doing the Tarnation, and for whatever reason, by the 8th time, it's just so ridiculous. It just keeps making me laugh. It was so bonkers, especially when he goes up to the damn court guy or the judge, and he says, "Don't make a mockery of my court, bro." I don't know. I thought there was like something so stupid to it that it did make me chuckle a bit. And he goes on for like a long time with that voice. But he does it in the first movie too. That's what I realized going back to it. It's when he's talking to Puddles that he does it again. So I don't know if they just forgot to let us know that that's something that they shared in a deleted scene. But the fact that he wouldn't let it up, my audience hated it, bro. For my press screening, they were like, "Bro, what is going on?"
Yeah.
But I thought it was goofy for what it was. There's also a comedian in this that has a special out this week. Bro, if I keep seeing Tim Dillon in these horror-esque movies, he was in Thanksgiving as a security guard who kind of lets the whole thing start. He plays another security guard here, asking for an autograph from Joker. Good on him, I guess.
Yeah.
I recognize him, but he does play the roles very well. So I've been intrigued with him taking on security number 1 and security number 2 here in these movies.
Yeah. I always like seeing stand-up comedians get into different character actor work, because I feel like a lot of times you get like they bring a level of like I don't know, just sort of like everydayness. Like I think that's where you get your people who feel the most like they were pulled off the street but still have personality.
For sure. I'm trying to remember who the it's not Ro Castillo, bro. Is he a comedian, bro?
Peter Jacobson?
I don't know. I thought there was a
not
comedian
sure.
for Smile 2 as well. Who comes up there? But there's right?
Are you thinking about the first one or the second one? Because I don't know about the cast of the second one.
I was thinking of the second one, but I could be mistaken. But going back to the first Joker, there's also the guy who actually does the stand-up in the first movie who makes fun of him when he's doing all that stuff at Pogo's was a good aspect of that, because I think you and I have the same mindset. Comedians can actually bring in some of the best actual dramaticness to it. And maybe this is what this movie was missing, was actually having some humor to go along with it, because it's kind of hidden in the background. Even that puddle scene, they decide to like make it a very sad scene, but then they'll like do a quick bit of him sitting on a Yellow Pages thing, and it's like, bro, what was that for? It made no sense. But again, overall, I did not hate this movie. I do think that when the dust settles, it won't be as hated for it just being like a follow-up project. Not the best Joker movie. Definitely Todd Phillips just wanting to cement that he wants to leave. I don't think it's punk rock, but I think it's an interesting follow-up for the psyche of Arthur Fleck. I like the whole shadow idea. Go ahead, read it.
Beyond Fest tweeted out, "It's punk as fuck that Todd Phillips got $200 million out of a multinational corporation, employed 1,000+ people, and made a film he wanted on his terms. It's kind of irrelevant if people don't like Joker 2. We should be celebrating this madness." I just saw this one going around on Twitter over the weekend, and I don't know, that's not my definition of punk rock personally, but I'm always in favor of people in the film industry getting employed.
Yeah. What would be an example of true punk rock? I'm trying to think. I think the first one was more punk rock.
Yeah. I don't know how punk you can be with $100 million. I feel like punk rock movies are more happening in the indie scene.
Well, that's what I'm
Stuff like
saying.
Joel
But compared to the two, the first one didn't have.
Yeah.
It was a surprise that it made a bill. This can't be punk rock because it's already made it.
Megalopolis is a little punk rock.
I agree with you. That applies to Megalopolis. But hey, Francis Ford Coppola came out and defended Joker Folie Deux. He is telling you, Megalopolis and Joker 2 will be remembered. Like these are the apocalypse nows of today. In due time, we will look back and see what could have been. Yeah, I'm trying. What else would be punk rock?
Alex Ross Perry a little bit. I mean, we'll talk about Pavements a little bit. It's maybe not punk rock, but a little alt rock.
Yeah. Overall, Joker, Folie Deux. Look, for the cinematography, for the acting, I'm gonna give it half for the story. I don't think the story gets a full 100% on it, but I thought half of the story, while a retread of the first, was kind of trying to solidify what it was going for. I didn't hate the musical numbers, and I thought the side performances were decent. I gave the first one 4 stars. I'm going to go 3 stars on this one.
I'm all the way down at 1 star. I thought this was a waste of time. I thought this was exhausting to sit through. Incredibly boring.
1 star?
Incredibly boring. So that puts our collective score around 2 stars.
Yeah, it'll be 2. 1 star?
Yeah, dude.
I'm bringing Borderlands to Sundance, bro.
I'm looking forward to it. Kevin Hart, he's yelling a lot. That's comedy, right?
Joker 2 out in theaters. I did not see this in IMAX. Did you?
I did not. I went Dolby.
I went Dolby.
Could not be bothered with the IMAX.
I thought Dolby was nice.
Yeah, I like Dolby.
Dolby for the musical numbers, for him yelling, and for the colors as well. Because again, there's one thing that I think has stood out for most people is what's the cinematographer's name again?
Lawrence Sher.
He did a fantastic job, bro. That man has not missed. And even remembering
definitely
back to his comedies. Yeah, like Todd Phillips' whole shtick with his comedies, besides making jokes that he said this one line recently when they were going back through his comments. What was it? They had brought up a bit, and he goes, "Oh yeah, that aged. I don't think jokes should be timeless. They should be of the time." I was like, "Boo, bro, no! What a cope take, bro. Come on, your joke aged bad. Just say that."
Right.
Yeah, his whole take again was that he's been working with the cinematographer for a while because all of his comedies were always supposed to not look like a Will Ferrell movie. They always look nice, right? The Hangover movies look very stylish. Due Date looks very stylish. So I want to just see more of the cinematographer's work. I know he created that one platform where you're able to see frames from a bunch of different movies in order to be able to kind of make like a storyboard for it. I'm blanking on what the name was, but I think it's a cool technique, but it also kind of adds to the allegations that they just take from other movies because that's all it really is. But it's a big platform. I forget what it is, but if you're a filmmaker, up and coming filmmaker, I'd look into that one. Look up the cinematographer. I think it's Film Blocks. Could be mistaken. But
Film Blocks.
It has like a frame from every single movie. So if you were like a sad scene from down below, it gives you every single movie frame that shot sad from down below or whatever. So
that's cool.
Joker, Folie Deux, however
Story
it's pronounced.
Blocks?
It could be. I don't know. I feel like that's the.
Oh no, film. It might be Film Blocks actually. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Somebody can maybe leave a comment and let us know.
Big thing, I guess, out there in the industry, but I think it's probably too much to afford.